welcome to my senior seminar project, Cakeology, the Art of Cake Decorating. My 100-hour project was inspired by TLC's Cake Boss. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of that show. It features Buddy Valastro and his bakery, Carla's Bake Shop. It's located in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'd first like to give you guys some quick history on the tradition of the wedding cake and how it has become what we are familiar with today. So, ancient Roman wedding ceremonies were finalized by breaking a cake of wheat or barley, which was called moustachium, over the bride's head as a symbol of good fortune. The newly married couple then ate a few crumbs in a custom known as conferatio, eating together. Afterwards, the wedding guests gathered up the crumbs as token of good luck. When the Romans invaded Britain in AD 43, many of their customs and traditions became part of British life. The Norman invasion of 1066 subsequently incorporated many French traditions into British life. In medieval England, in an early form of a wedding cake, small spice buns were stacked in a towering pile as high as possible. If the bride and groom were able to kiss over the tall stack, it meant a lifetime of prosperity. In the county of Yorkshire, bride pie was the most important dish at weddings, as it was considered essential to the couple's future happiness. It consisted of a large round pie containing a plump hen full of eggs, surrounded by minced meats, fruits, and nuts, and embellished with ornate pastry emblems. Each guest had to eat a small piece of the pie. Not to do so was considered extremely rude and impolite. A ring was traditionally placed in the pie, and the lady who found it next would be the next one to marry. Bride pie was still being served at weddings in some parts of England as late as the 19th century. So a lot of the symbolism and the origin of wedding cakes were for prosperity, fertility, and good luck. So that was just the history of wedding cakes. At Queen Victoria's wedding to Prince Albert in 1840, she was the one who had the first wedding cake, which was decorated with white icing. It has become what we know today as royal icing. And her cake was actually as large as 9 feet in circumference. So it was really extravagant. Now on to the process of designing, baking, and decorating my 4-tiered wedding cake, as you see here. I experimented with a couple cake designs, both round and rectangular. I decided to go with this simple but elegant design with a color scheme of pastel blue and white. Each tier is 4 inches tall. The bottom tier here is 12 inches in circumference. This is 10, 8, and 6. And this is a drawing of the inside of the cake, which you will get to taste. The cake is either vanilla or milk chocolate with buttercream frosting and the blue fondant on top of it. The pans that I used to bake the layers of cake were only 2 inches tall, so I had to bake a total of 8 layers, 2 for each tier. Like I said before, the cake flavors are either milk chocolate or vanilla. I used a thin layer of buttercream frosting to help put the 2 layers together and to keep the cake from moving on its cardboard separator. After frosting the cakes, I began kneading the fondant. I have a little video here. Fondant is initially really hard and difficult to use, but after working it for a couple minutes, it begins to feel kind of like the consistency of Play-Doh. You don't want it too soft that it's sticky, but you also don't want it too hard that it's not usable. Here, I'm putting it into a ball so that it's easier to roll. And now I'm taking powdered sugar and sprinkling it on my counter to keep the fondant from sticking. I wish I actually worked this fast, but this is fast forwarded 8 times. Wow. That would have saved a lot of time. Okay, once you get the once you get the powdered sugar onto the counter, you want to work quickly with fondant because the powdered sugar, the cornstarch inside the powdered sugar is what dries it up. So if it dries up, it will begin to crack and look like elephant skin, and it defeats the purpose of the nice, smooth finish. I'm taking a rolling pin and just flattening out the fondant. I would show you the entire process of rolling it up, but that would actually take up my entire 20 minutes. So I will be skipping to after I flatten it all out. The fondant is about 1/8 of an inch thick now, and so after that I'm rolling it back onto the rolling pin and brushing off any excess powdered sugar. This part was always difficult. As you can see, that starts cracking. After rolling it onto the buttercream frosted cake, I'm attaching the fondant onto the cake. First using my fingers, just to kind of, first I would attach it to the edges to kind of take off the weight of it so that the fondant doesn't pull downwards with gravity and start to rip. I'm just kind of sticking it onto the frosting, which helps to keep it in place. And now I'm taking a tool called a fondant smoother and just brushing it on the top and around the edges to help smooth out any air bubbles or any rough edges. And now I'm just cutting off any excess fondant and kind of wrapping it under the cardboard to hide the cardboard.
How many times did you have to try this before you got it right?
Many, many times. One time I rolled out fondant and it wasn't big enough, and so I had to take it off the cake and I had to wipe off all the icing. I had to refrost my cake, and then I had to put it back into a bowl and start the process all over again. After watching this, you might be wondering, what is fondant? Or you're like me and you watch Cake Boss and you've heard of the term many times, but you weren't really sure what's actually in it. So there's actually two types of fondant, poured and rolled. Poured fondant is used as kind of like a filling or an icing, and it is made of sugar, corn syrup, and water. The type of fondant that I used on this cake is the rolled fondant, which is kind of like sweet dough. It's made of sugar, corn syrup, and water again, but also has glycerin and a type of gelatin added in it, so that it's kind of like the Play-Doh texture. But once you refrigerate it, it hardens. It's really sturdy. While the fondant is edible, it's up to you if you want to eat it. Because I mean, it looks nice, but I don't know if it'll taste as nice as it looks. Just word of warning.
In general, do people eat?
I think Laurel is nodding her head because she told me that one time she was at a wedding and she took the entire ribbon of fondant and started eating it.
Yeah.
But it's up to you. It's kind of it's really hard after I refrigerated it. Yeah. Okay, and now for the support part of it. So this is the last step before actually decorating the cake. You want to make sure that having a nice cake, you don't want it to fall or slump. So these wooden dowels were added for support. They were just placed into the cake and then measured for height and then just sawed off. And there's about 5 in each to kind of support the weight of the lower tiers for the upper tiers so that it doesn't start slumping in or even worse, fall.
Question, wait, so do the dowels run through the entire cake or through each layer?
Just through each layer. Okay. So this is a picture of this layer, of this tier.
Okay.
And so there's 5 or 4 wooden dowels in each tier. You could insert like one really long one straight through, but that's usually if you're actually transporting it as a whole cake.
Like
I transported it, yeah, Cake Boss. I transported it tier by tier and then just assembled it just now. And I just put some buttercream frosting on top of the dowels before placing the tier on top of it so that it doesn't move, just for added security. The last step is decorating. I chose roses with leaves and kind of like a Baroque style embellishments. And these are all made out of fondant. Are there any questions about the process? Yes, ma'am.
Did you have like stencils for the, or like little molds for the?
Yeah, I had,
roses
so,
and
here,
stuff?
I'll pull up that picture. So these flowers were pressed into a mold, and the leaves were cut out and stenciled.
What about the roses?
Yeah, they were
Okay.
they were in a mold.
What about the
Trim. This one or
the
this one?
bottom?
Yeah, they were. This one was a mold, and this one was like just like little beads. So yeah, if there aren't any questions, I guess we can get to the interactive part of this. So there are like superstitions about wedding cakes. You know, the newlywed is supposed to cut it together. The bride is supposed to feed the groom. They're getting the togetherness. And for all you guys planning on doing a DIY wedding, you're not supposed to bake your own wedding cake. So at least I'm not getting married because this would be bad luck. Because you're supposed to share it with as many people for wealth and prosperity. So you're not supposed to bake your own wedding cake. But I'm not getting married, so it's okay. Right, Mom and Dad? Okay. So yeah, how about I'll start cutting it, but I don't know if I should take it off, or should I try cutting it?
Oh, no.
Does anybody have, like, I hate chocolate or I hate vanilla? Because this one is vanilla, this one's chocolate, this is vanilla, this one's chocolate. So if you have a preference, I don't mind taking off the top tier and cutting it like that.
Wait, so the top one's vanilla, you said?
Yeah, the top one is vanilla.
I'm not gonna lie, I want to devour it, but at the same time, it looks so beautiful. It's so hard.
Yeah,
I want to be
no,
the first one. That's the
I'll do the honors of cutting it.
oh.
Don't worry.
It looks beautiful, and when you said many, many, many times, like I think now we know how much work went into that. So.
Yeah. So Cake Boss, it's a great show, but just know that there is a lot more effort, and
There are
Buddy
like
makes
10
it.
people working on a
They make
cake.
it look so
Hang on,
good.
Buddy makes it look so easy.
Let me just get one
And
last
machine,
commemorative
and
photo.
roller. They have
a good
Oh,
one.
sorry, I
Big
just
machine roller.
here. Oh, there you are. There.
Do you know what I'm
Perfect.
Yes.
How long did it take you to make the entire thing?
The entire. Okay. So, okay. So each of the pans, the 2 inches. So there's two layers in each tier. So each layer would take about 35 to 40 minutes in the oven for baking, and that doesn't count mixing everything. And then since I only had 1 pan of each, I kind of had to put 2 in the oven and then kind of wait for that to bake, and then it was kind of like a factory with myself. And then I had to flip it over and let it cool before I could frost it, because if you tried frosting it when it was still hot, the icing would just melt all over the place. And then after that, I had to put the icing into the fridge and wait for it to kind of set. And then rolling out the fondant took a really long time. That was 8 times fast forwarded. Built a lot of muscles with the rolling pins. But overall, with the trial and error, definitely 100 hours. Yes.
You're gonna try and like make a cake like this again, or probably not?
For fun, probably not. But if I got hired to like make a wedding cake, I'd be down for it. But for fun, definitely not.
There has to be money involved.
I was just really curious, and I thought this would be fun. And then halfway through, I was like, why did I decide to do this? But I'm really proud of this now, and it's not perfect, but I'm still really proud of it. Any last pictures before I cut it? Yeah? Okay.
So let's take a picture of her cutting.
So yeah, I got this.
Yeah, it's on its own.
Okay, so I'll take this
Okay.
top tier off. The icing will be stuck in. So each tier is actually on its own cardboard circle that I had to cut because I bought a whole pack of 14-inch, and so I had to trace the pans on each of them and cut them out with an X-Acto knife.
Was anybody else using the kitchen during your senior seminar? project? Or?
Nope, I kicked my mom.
All I had to do is just keep sweeping the floor because the sugar powder was all over the floor, so messy. And sometimes I yell at her, "Why you have to do this project?"
Yeah.
How many hear your senior seminar project?
No, I didn't put my hand on the whole thing except for sweeping the floor for her.
Yeah, I took over the kitchen, like all of my hands were like in the oven, she was getting like on the countertop, there was so many dishes. I wanted to do sign, but I was like, that's, I don't know sign.
Can you turn around? Turn around. No, it's so turn, put it in the air and turn it.
Devin's off.
See how this is gonna work. The fondant is like really hard now after I refrigerated it. So.
Where did you store the cake while it ran?
Oh, so that's a different story.
I just realized, I was like, wait, where
This
did
is
you
a
keep
different
this?
So, I had 4 tiers and 3 different fridges. My dad's office is thankfully a block away from my house. So, imagine 10 o'clock at night and it's kind of drizzly and it's dark and you're trying to with cake by yourself. That was me last night.
But then here at school, did this just get dropped off? Or
No, it actually fit in that.
Oh,
There was
okay.
like a huge, I stacked 3 of them in one and then this one, top one was on like another shelf.
Okay.
So it worked out. I was really happy.
Oh my god.
Okay, the first.
How about a disclaimer on
Here we
your
go.
list?
Okay. So, who wants the first slice? You do. Unless you prefer chocolate.
Oh, me? Oh, my
The grater?
God. I'm happy that I'm happy they do this one. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I feel so guilty. Oh, it's really good. Okay.
Seal of approval.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sacrificing your kitchen and lives so that this cake might live.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem at all. As long as, yeah, but well, after this project, I hope it's done.
She was in group B. So we saw 2 of group B's. Alana and then Ryan and Allison.
What are the other roles?
Wait, so Nick, am I the next person to use this room?
We're getting dietary. No,
Let me just make sure all my stuff is here.
like you would go on the diet, yeah.
I know I'm shortening my life by decades, but that fondant is really good.
Really?
Alana's in 809.
It's like concentrated sugar delight.
I feel like you're gonna get like,
She was in our presentation.
don't you like you
Who? Alana. Alana was the one who was like, how do you know? It's like, because I watch it.
just document your
But you can't just tell like by watching baseball. She's just the one who said it somewhere. I didn't know
It's not
we
because
could
it's going on a
think
diet.
about
Or like experimenting with lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Nobody said it's before.
Alessandra?
No worries.
You can chat for a couple minutes on the way down. Yeah, thanks everybody.
This one has a
Way to be obvious. Yeah, I wasn't trying. I was trying to turn down the shutters. Yeah, and then it takes a picture.
No, it wasn't ready. Does anybody else want vanilla or does everybody? Okay. Thank you. Anybody else for vanilla? Vanilla. And it took about 30 eggs.
Nice. That's good. Well, there's more chickens.
This will be online within a week.
Yeah, that way off.
Really weird, like, statistics to know.
There is,
More
right?
chickens than we go in the world.
There's a reason I teach high school.
Wait,
physics.
there's more chickens
It's not my,
than people in the world?
it's not my
I didn't
main
know that.
focus.
Like, those are really not your entire.
I dropped those at parties.
Do you want it?
Like how many chickens are there? And then you like look up like the.
Oh, I forgot you had the stats one. You're like,
Yeah.
actually.
No, like I actually like had to look up like every population of every like U.S. jurisdiction, right?
Oh my god.
So did you like look up every year like how many
Is
chickens are
there
there?
more cattle than? That seems like.
That's getting there. Well, there's probably more cattle product.
Did you do that?
You know what's terrible now, Marcus? You gotta make it. What's the average rate of eggs being dropped every second?
They make eggs there.
Really good slices.
Olivia, you endured me for a week.